Welcome to another interruption. We're going to jump right in here. Revelations chapter 12, verse 9. And the great dragon was thrown down, that ancient serpent who is called the devil and Satan, the deceiver of the whole world. Avoiding deception about Jesus coming. The first truth is that Jesus warned the disciples about deception. In Matthew 24, verses 4 and 5, he said that this would occur before the tribulation. See to it that no one misleads you, for many will come in my name saying, I am the Christ, and I will mislead many. Okay, I am the Christ and will mislead many. Actually claiming to be Jesus himself. You think, oh, we can't be fooled by something like that. But that's not true. But did you know that as of 2018, there are 7 men right now claiming to be Jesus? Even now, the point is that Jesus is warning about deception. It's already in progress. Again, I couldn't believe this. As I did my research, I actually found that there are at least 7 people claiming to be Jesus right now, and some people are buying that. Then in verse 24, Jesus tells us that during the last days, deception will explode and be extremely convincing because they will use great signs and wonders to mislead. The verse says, Matthew 24, verse 24, for false Christs and false prophets will arise and will show great signs and wonders, so as to mislead, if possible, even the elect. Behold, I have told you in advance. Even the elect. Those that have already accepted Jesus. Think about that. We are the elect. If you're a Christian, you've accepted Christ, you're one of the elect. They're coming after us. They're going to try to deceive us just like everybody else. The end times will be a time of tremendous deception. That is why Jesus warned the disciples. He said, behold, I have told you in advance. He wants believers to not be ignorant. Only Christians will know what is happening. That is one reason that I am so glad that I go to Antioch. The fact that they talk about this. We are not going to be deceived. We talk about this on a regular basis. We're going to be ready. We know what's going on. How about the deception about truth? The Apostle Paul warned us that truth and righteousness would be twisted or distorted in the last days. Wow. 1 Timothy 4, 1 and 2. But the Spirit explicitly says that in later times some will fall away from the faith, paying attention to deceitful spirits and doctrines of demons, by means of the hypocrisy of liars, seared in their own conscience as with a branding iron. Notice that Paul says in later times, just before the second coming of Christ, deceitful spirits will increase. The demons will use people who have a seared conscience. The demons will use men and women who are insensitive to sin and evil. Guys, we got to be close. Have you ever seen a time in your entire life that the conscience of people are not as seared as they are now? People just don't think, don't care. Evil is nothing. Even us, when we watch the news, they talk about murder. People got shot. People died. It doesn't affect us like it used to. Evil has overcame the world for now. In the last days, people will increasingly become more insensitive to sin. Their consciences will be seared and their hearts hardened. This means in the last days, evil will explode. An explosion of evil is probably an understatement. You know, deception about the Antichrist. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 3 and 4 gives us another warning. The warning is about an evil leader who will appear in the last days, at the beginning of the tribulation. The Apostle Paul says, let no one in any way deceive you, for it will not come unless the apostasy comes first, and the man of lawlessness is revealed, the son of destruction, who opposes and exalts himself above every so-called God or object of worship. Now, apostasy, that's the abandonment of religious or political beliefs. You know, and it appears to me that lawlessness is tied to the abandonment of religion. What I mean is that removing God gives way to the evil nature of men. Now, Revelation chapter 13 describes the future Antichrist and the false prophet. In verse 3 and 4 of this chapter, we are once again told the Antichrist will deceive the world so that the whole world follows and worships him. The world will think this man of lawlessness is a wonderful leader. I can't help but take a second here. Why in the world, the evil that we see going on right now with our politicians, people are behind them, they're backing them, they're giving money to them, knowing how evil they are. You think, oh, that could never happen. That's just crazy. Why would anybody not see the evil? Because they don't have the Holy Spirit. Quite frank. That's just the way it is right now. The whole world is being deceived. The lawlessness is crazy. 2 sets of rules. Anyway, the world will think this man of lawlessness is a wonderful leader. Why? Well, verse 2 actually gives us that answer. The dragon, or the devil, or Satan, empowers him. In the last days, the great evil and deception that Christians will see will be orchestrated by Satan. We got to keep that on the top of our brains here. Satan is behind all this. So if we have opportunities to somehow turn someone from that, we need to make every effort we can to do that. Satan is the enemy, not us, not each other. Remember that. Those who reject divine truth are the ones who will think the Antichrist is wonderful. Then evil men will become even worse. You know, in Ephesians 6:12 it says that we do not struggle against flesh and blood, but against Satan and his demonic forces. God has a purpose, though, in the deception in the last days. This is kind of the idea behind what I've just laid out here for you. God made a plan. He knew what was happening. He knew what was going to happen. But if you read in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 11 and 12, it explains the purpose of deception. For this reason, God will send upon them a deluding influence so that they will believe what is false, in order that they all may be judged who did not believe the truth but took pleasure in wickedness. Here we're told that God will send a deluding influence on the world, or a deceiving influence, so that they will believe what is false. That is, God will cause the world to be deceived. God will cause the world to be deceived? That's exactly right. But why would God do that? Well, he tells us why. He will do it in order that they all may be judged who did not believe the truth but took pleasure in wickedness. That is, God will intentionally cause those who have already ultimately and finally rejected Jesus Christ and are indulging in the pleasures of sin to be completely deceived. He gives them over because they have completely rejected Christ. Then when God judges them, they themselves will prove that they deserve hell. Interesting, huh? Well, in conclusion, what have we learned here? Jesus and the Apostle Paul have warned us not to be deceived, so we need to be on the alert. In the last days, the second coming of Christ, the distortion of truth, the increase in evil, and the rise of the Antichrist are all things that we need to look at and pay attention to and not be deceived about. They warned us that Satan will be the master deceiver and will cause worldwide deception. Finally, God will cause those who have rejected the truth and enjoyed sin to be deceived and to believe lies. You know, an end-time truth that is often missed is God is allowing evil and deception to increase as an act of judgment on a God-rejecting world. We are moving closer to the second coming of Jesus. That is, we are moving closer to the rapture. I believe the tremendous increase in evil, lies, deceptions that we've been observing is not just due to men being sinners. It's the handiwork of Satan, which God is increasingly allowing. Satan does nothing unless God allows it. We always got to remember that. As we move more quickly to the end and God releases control, we will see how wicked mankind will become when God stops restraining evil and deception. In Matthew chapter 25, verse 34, it tells us that God the Father made plans for his kingdom from the foundation of the world. What we're now seeing is the execution of his plan. God is still in control, always has been. We're marching faster now toward the second coming of Christ. Luke 17:23 and 24 says, "They will say to you, 'Look there, look here, do not go away, do not run after them.' For just like the lightning when it flashes out of part of the sky, shines to the other part of the sky, so will the Son of Man be in his day." That is, if someone tells you, "Come here, come with me, I'm going to show you Jesus," don't believe them. For when he returns, everyone will see him. He will come in a blaze of light, and everyone around the world will see him. So as we celebrate Easter this weekend, celebrating Christ overcoming death, let's also celebrate the Jesus who is on his way to take us home and overcome the world. See you next time.